The arrival of a newborn is often described as a fresh start, a clean slate, and a beautiful new beginning for a family. But for those who grew up in the foster care system or were adopted, this moment carries a much heavier, deeper weight. It is a profound shift that echoes through the halls of memory, bringing past and present together in a single, fragile breath. As you look down at this tiny life, a complex mix of wonder and overwhelming emotion begins to rise from within. While the world sees a hopeful future and a supportive environment, your internal landscape may feel like a series of shadowed hurdles. There is a silent contrast between the joy you feel and the abstract visuals of a past that was once fractured and uncertain. We carry the felt sense of our earliest days, a time of removal and transition that remains etched into our very bones. These distant, blurred memories are not found in stories we were told, but in the heavy silence of what we lost. For the first time in your life, you are looking into eyes that reflect your own biological history and genetic heritage. This realization can be sudden and sharp, a deep, visceral connection to a lineage that was previously a mystery to you. In this moment, your nervous system may react like a map of glowing threads, lighting up with a sudden, intense biological recognition. Your heart beats not just for yourself, but in rhythm with a history that has finally found its way home to you. This can lead to a state of overconnection, where you become completely immersed in your newborn's world to provide absolute safety. You might find your partner or the outside world blurring into the background as you focus entirely on this one vital bond. But there is a flip side to this intensity. Moments where the weight of the past feels too heavy to carry anymore. The nervous system may trigger a freeze or flight-fight response, leaving you feeling distant and overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all. This struggle is not a failure of love, but a testament to the immense psychological hurdles you are navigating every single day. Look at your child with that determination. Seeing the dark, fractured glass of the past finally begin to clear, you are engaged in the sacred work of repair, stitching together a new narrative with steady, patient hands and a brave heart. Watch as the light finally begins to break through the heavy clouds, illuminating a path that you are carving out yourself. As you walk through this life, remember that your journey is unique, requiring a depth of resilience and classic internal strength. You are not just raising a child. You are healing a lineage and proving that removal trauma does not have the final word. Let us hold space for this journey with compassion, understanding that for the adoptee parent, love is the ultimate act of courage.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. And in today's video, following on in this series, this is now the third video, in where I'm attempting to step out all the different layers within the complexity involved within removal and placement trauma within the world that is adoption and the world that is foster care. Now, in the last video, I mentioned how in this video I want to go into a little bit more depth into one of the larger implications, the more challenging generational implications around the trapped trauma that is contained within all of us that are removed from our biological family, either at birth or in early childhood, and all the complexity that creates within our nervous system and all the alterations that happen in the way we prioritize, interact, and connect, and how our own threat response does everything it can to repress the neurological impacts or the neurophysiological impacts of that trauma of removal to survive. The basis of the fog, the basis of our survival state, created by the trauma across placental before our removal and post-birth removal or an early childhood removal and everything that created that situation. The gap between removal and placement and everything that's contained within that whole complex mess that is removal trauma and placement trauma. In this video, I want to jump ahead a little bit into one of the implications, one to generate a bit more interest and awareness as to why it's important to understand all of this. But also, this is one of the main things that kind of pushed me finally to get off my butt and make this series. I've had over the years numerous children of adoptees approach me and ask if, can they have a conversation with an adoptee and get an honest answer? And anybody who knows me, that if you ask for honest answers, I will do my best to give them with everything that I know and everything that I am. And I've sat there and explained with them why the behavior of their parent who is an adoptee is the way it is, whether it be their mother or whether it be their father. And in one instance, it was both parents were adoptees. The implications of one simple experience changes every facet of connection. And that is, as I said in the beginning, all that trapped neurophysiological trauma, and all our responses to removal and placement and everything that happened is like a jar with a lid, and that lid is firmly shut. But certain triggers or life experiences start to open that jar, and our mechanisms of shutdown to protect and stop that from happening kick in. One of the biggest moments that we see within the world of adoption is when an adoptee has their first child, and it affects children after that. But often their first child is the first physical contact they have with biological family, whether it's being the woman giving birth to a child or the father holding their child. Both. The mother is potentially a little stronger and a little harder to resist all this world of complex trauma breaking open, or the repressed trauma breaking open. But I've seen the impact follow very similar pathways on both sides. The adoptee, their first instance of connection with biological family brings them back to the need that they had, crying out for a mother that never came, or a mother that never came back, of being held by her, being connected to her, being safe, protected, belonging, and part of a family with all the biological recognition markers in place, intact. The facial recognition, vocal tone, all of it intact. All of that drive for that infant screaming for a mother that never came is brought to the surface when you're first holding your newborn physical, biological child, connecting to your skin and your neurophysiology, your nervous system, your endocrine system. All of that is present at that moment. And one of two things happen. One, the parent will either overconnect. That infant, there's a transference where that infant, in some subconscious forms, is there to fulfill that need of mum returning to pick you up when you were little. Or they will repel. This is overloads. I can't do this. It gets, recognized or labeled as postpartum depression and all these other facets in place, but it's not. No one comprehends that that is the very first moment that a person that was removed with complex removal trauma and placement trauma is first having it hit home with no holes barred. It is almost unstoppable, this need to connect. And it overwhelms and it terrifies. It's not a choice. It is a neurophysiological response. And the depth, the complexity of that over the coming days and weeks and months is huge. And I've seen where the adoptee overconnects to their child, where it's their entire world, it's just them and their child. Their partner does not really exist anymore. They become a direct threat to their relationship. And that's the instance where I first came across this, was in relationship counseling, trying to understand this over 20 years ago, where the partner was completely threatened by their own child because their partner was so connected and so close and so bonded to their child. And they had no idea of what was being involved, and it was being misconstrued and accusations were being made. And I've seen this numerous times over my many, many years around this stuff and within this world, of that same misunderstanding. And the moment accusations get made, the adoptee falls into, oh crap, I'm wrong, I'm doing this, and they collapse. And all of a sudden they have no connection to their child. That child is a direct threat. They seal that jar shut, and they are not connected to their children, they're not connected to their partner, and their world collapses. It's a component of where the fog collapses. And I've said in past videos, bad things happen in this reality. But then they have another child, even with somebody else, but they won't connect. They won't go there. And this is where it flows on generationally, the impact. Because their child goes, no matter what I do, I cannot get close to my parent, whether it's my mother or my father, because they don't understand what's wrong with them. They don't understand why. And it shapes their detachment to their parents, shapes their perception of relationships, their needs, their deficits, guide their relationships and the people they choose. And it flows on generationally into over emotionally needy dependency-based relationships, or to potential domestic violent relationships, abuses, at least attention, and all these sorts of things that play out. They even try doing the same-sex relationships and all these different harms of drugs and alcohol and everything, trying to make sense of why am I not good enough for my parent to love me, to hold me, and to make me feel safe whilst they're holding me, whilst I'm connecting to them, whilst I know they see and validate me. And the core of it, if their parent is an adoptee, is because they're not neurophysiologically capable of doing it. Because to access that part accesses the removal trauma part, and they overwhelm and shut down, or it changes side where it's not them doing it, giving it that love and connection to their child. They need their child to fix that connection that they've reached out for a mother that never came and a father that never came when they were little. That mess is so potent within the world of adoption, and in many layers in the world of foster care. But in foster care, it's talked about more. A lot of partners know their partner came from the foster care system, and there's multiple layers of placement, and there are other issues that I'll get to in another video around connection and attachment and relationships. This one is almost purely in the world of adoption because of that first biological connection to biological family and its implications. If you want to see how powerful this moment is, it's very, very easy. Get on YouTube, type in adoption reunion videos, and watch 10 or 15 of them. There are some that are an hour long. There are some that are 4 or 5 minutes long, and you will see the emotions involved. You will see a bunch of adoptees going, my adoption was wonderful. I was loved. I was cared for. You made the right decision and all this stuff. But just watch how much emotion is tied to it. How much they look like me. They sound like me. There's my eyes. There's my ears. There's this, all this appearance recognition. All of that emotion of recognition of biological connection with mother, father, with direct siblings. That emotion, without any idea of where it's coming from, on top of the emotion of this is my first child, all mixed together. And you wonder why it goes south very, very easily, why it gets disproportionate or misunderstood. If anything in these videos, if I'm able to point out the complexity just to bring that awareness, because as I said, on this sort of a platform, the only thing I can hope for is people start to talk about it within your own world, within your own own group of people, within your own family, especially if you have adoptees within your family or you are an adoptee. The more conversations we have, the more we can dispel the myths and the misinterpretations, the more we can demystify. We can remove some of the taboos and create the understandings on all sides of the equation and not see these conversations as threats. That's the most I can hope for out of all the videos that I create. And that's the primary reason why I make this channel and do these efforts for these videos every week, is I'm not trying to get anything from it other than I'm hoping that what I've learned and what I've seen gets listened to and goes out there into conversations with people. As always, I really love you guys' support for the channel, and really take the time to think and sit with this and look at the complexity of all that's involved, to try to at least value the emotional depth and complexity of it. There are more parts of this, and in an upcoming videos, I'm still going to unpack all this. So it's going to be a lot of videos, so please stay tuned. And no video stands alone in this series. They all work together as part of one. As always, I thank you guys for your support for the channel. Please be mindful, please be safe, and I will see you all next time.